Mission Save the Hunter. Prologue. Nuna, stay with me. Keep your eyes open. A young boy holding a bloodied woman pleaded desperately. The woman, coughing up blood, struggled to speak. Jaeyoon, I have a wish. A wish? I wanted to fulfill it once I got out of here, but it seems hopeless now. Could you do it for me? The boy, called Jaeyoon, furrowed his brows openly. The moment the word wish left the woman's mouth, some of the desperation in his gaze faded. Cough, cough. Jaeyoon, my wish. I'll go get Mr. Songtae. No, it has to be you, Jaeyoon. I told everyone that if I get out of here, I'll die, that I'll take my own life. Why is everyone like this? Mr. Songtae is right over there, and so are Alex and Kong Jin Hung. There are so many people here. Why do they all come to me? The woman said, If you grant wishes for the living, can't you grant one for the dead? That seems a bit different. The woman coughed. The boy's expression turned increasingly cold as the grip on his forearm weakened. He muttered a curse under his breath. Fine, what's the wish? If it's something I can do, I'll grant it. The woman, as if she'd been waiting for his response, finally spoke. 3 million squats, 5,000 runs. That's all I need. The boy was at a loss for words. The woman, as if satisfied, closed her eyes and drew her last breath. Around them, comrades wept and called out her name. For the boy, who now had 218 ridiculous last wishes to fulfill once he left this place, all he felt was bitter frustration. Chapter 1. The world changed. One day, strange phenomena appeared across the globe, and translucent windows appeared before a select few. At first, everyone was baffled. What was happening? What were these windows? Why could only certain people see them? Before anyone could fully grasp the situation, monsters began flooding into the world, and society quickly crumbled. In the early days of the apocalypse, known as the Dark Era, some believed Earth was doomed, while others held on to hope. Gradually, people started understanding the situation and learned how to fight the monsters. Those who could see the translucent windows, known as awakened, gained special abilities. It was discovered through much sacrifice that dungeons were forming across the planet. If these dungeons weren't cleared in time, the monsters inside would flood out, or the dungeons themselves would explode, turning the surrounding area into a wasteland. Based on this information, a few highly skilled individuals took the lead in humanity's restoration, and countries that once clashed now joined forces. People of all races and religions united as one to fight against the monsters. Just as people were nurturing hope for a new era, a dungeon appeared in the Arctic. It was the most dangerous dungeon ever seen, and if it wasn't cleared, the resulting explosion was estimated to rival the Permian extinction event. Facing this unprecedented catastrophe, humanity had no time for despair and began to rally its strength. Awakened ones volunteered to enter the Great Dungeon, and nations spared no resources, providing military equipment, including nuclear arms. The Great Dungeon allowed a maximum entry of 1,203 people. These 1,203 were called the Revengers. The Vanguard was a multinational team of the 6 strongest awakened, followed by 82 other awakened teams, with the rear consisting of unawakened volunteers who bravely joined. Once the 1,203 heroes, the Revengers, entered, the world could only wait and pray, as nothing was known about what was happening inside. Finally, on the day before the expected explosion, the dungeon was cleared, sparing the world from annihilation. But the cost was steep. Of the 1,203, only 4 emerged alive from the Great Dungeon. One of them was So Chae-yoon, known as the Ace of the Revengers. At 19, So Chae-yoon was carried out of the dungeon unconscious, and after that day, he vanished from the world. Rumors spread. Some said he was dead, others that he had lost his powers or developed a mental illness, but no one knew the truth. Those who knew about So Chae-yoon kept silent, and over time he became a legend. Then, 10 years later, Today, the sun blazed with no breeze in sight. It was mid-July, and after standing under the sun on a rooftop of a residential complex for 2 hours, even Yunso, with his above-average stamina, was starting to tire. He should have wrapped up sooner. Fanning himself, he let out a hot breath as the sun beat down on his neck and face, heating up every part exposed to sunlight. "Hunter!" The building owner, who had come to check on the progress, hurried over with a handheld fan. "Hunter, use this. You must be so hot." "I'm almost finished, so please stand back." "Oh, sure, sure." The owner, flustered, stepped back inside the rooftop door. Even though Yun-so was from a small guild, as an awakened, he was always treated with deference by unawakened civilians wherever he went. After completing the basic setup and orientation calculations, Yun-so entered numbers on his U-pad, linked it to the address from the contract record, and placed a small amount of mana on the trap. With a flash, a blue sphere appeared in midair. Yun-so quickly sent it upward. The sphere rose to 3 meters, gradually turned transparent, and vanished, replaced by a faint blue boundary surrounding the old 4-story building. The shield was successfully activated. "Wow, it's done." The building owner marveled, placing his hand on the blue boundary. As Yun-so took a verification photo and video of the shield installation, the boundary gradually faded, becoming completely invisible and remaining inactive until triggered. On his U-pad, Yun-so brought up a semi-transparent display with the contract and approached the still awed civilian. "It's a B-grade shield. Please check it and sign here." "Oh, yes." The building owner gripped the pen and quickly signed. "It ended sooner than I thought. The other building took 6 hours, they said." The time required varies depending on the building size and grade. I'll explain the contract details first. "Oh, I already know about it." An explanation of the contents is mandatory. After putting away the display, Yun-so reattached the U-pad to his wrist. The building owner's gaze followed the U-pad. While it looked like an ordinary smartwatch, this special device for awakened beings could pull out a semi-transparent display and project holograms, always drawing the attention of non-awakened people. Yun-so said, "A B-grade shield provides safety from dungeon explosions of B-grade or below and equivalent impacts. According to the special provision you applied for, the shield will hold for 3 hours after the first impact. Please note, the contract term is 1 year and will automatically renew yearly. Our guild will send personnel for shield trap maintenance on a quarterly basis." "Will you be coming for that as well?" "Of course, a hunter will come." "No, what I meant is, will you be the one coming?" There's a good chance it will be me." While large guilds have separate installation and maintenance teams for shield traps, small guilds like the Guild of Leaves, to which Yun-so belonged, often consolidated those under a public support team. Having worked in the support team for 10 years, Yun-so was assigned to the Seoul West Station area, so he would be responsible for this location too. The building owner nodded repeatedly, looking relieved. Finally, Yun-so escaped the scorching rooftop and headed inside the building. Though the shaded stairwell was still hot, it was better than the rooftop. As they descended the stairs, the building owner chattered on with pointless small talk. "To be honest, this is my first time contracting a shield, so I was quite worried. I heard that it takes a long time, and that hunters are arrogant, expecting to be humored. But the time quickly passed, and you turned out to be very kind. I feel bad for having held those prejudices." Yun-so said, "Our guild members at the Guild of Leaves aren't like those other hunters. Please consider us again in the future." Yes, I'll be sure to recommend you to others." Even in this small country of South Korea, between 30 and 100 dungeons appear daily. While Korea's hunter system is well organized, meaning the chance of a failed raid is low, the problem is that the failure rate isn't 0. Even with methods to detect dungeon occurrences, it's difficult to cover the entire country. Sometimes dungeons have unreasonably short time limits when discovered, making it impossible to clear them, and other times the portal itself is too small to enter without miniaturization skills or items. Because of this, monster outbreaks occurred almost daily, with small-scale explosions happening 2 or 3 times a week. To mitigate these damages, a hunter developed a shield trap device 10 years ago, which could block explosion impacts and monster attacks. He released the blueprint for free online, and people, like taking out building insurance, began to request guilds to install shield traps everywhere. Variations such as explosion traps and transport traps were later developed, and the trap business became one of the main sources of income for guilds. For non-awakened people, shield traps were practically a lifeline against unpredictable disasters. Some unscrupulous hunters took advantage of this, bullying civilians by lowering shield defenses below contract standards or reducing mana storage to wear down durability faster. The building owner seemed highly satisfied that Yun-So wasn't one of those arrogant hunters. Chapter 2. Hunter, may I have your business card? Sure. Yun-So hesitated briefly before taking out a business card and handing it over. The Guild of Leaves business cards were far from polished. Yun-So had requested multiple times for them to be improved, but the overly proud guildmaster ignored his pleas. This is the first time I've ever received a hunter's business card. The building owner looked at it with reverence. If they had seen even a single business card from another guild, he would have realized just how shabby this one was. Hunter, do you also have a hunter name? I don't use a hunter name since I'm not part of the combat division. Ah, I see. Well, if there's any issue, please contact the number on the card. Are you leaving already? How about a cup of tea before you go? I'm behind on work. Please head inside since it's hot. Oh, you must be busy. I understand. After parting ways with the regretful building owner, Yun-So got into his car, parked in the building's lot. Driver Yun-So, identification complete. Please specify your destination. The automatic biometric recognition finished, and the car's AI started the engine. As Yun-So checked his U-pad and entered the next address, a notification appeared. Old G. The name of the guildmaster, Ji Sang-hyuk, flashed on the screen. Yun-So moved his finger to accept the call. What is it? What kind of greeting is what is it when talking to your guildmaster? What do you want? Hey, Yun-So, watch your tone. If I'd gotten married young, I'd have a kid your age by now. If you've got nothing important to say, I'm hanging up. Wait, don't hang up. The finger that had been hovering near the end call button paused. If you finish setting up the traps, head to Yanaro Daesung Securities right now. An emergency maintenance request just came in. Is this subcontract work? Yes, it's subcontracted from the Rainbow Guild. 2 of your team members are already there, but it looks like it'll take them a day on their own. You'll need to go help. Yun-So smirked. The guildmaster talked as if there were plenty of team members, but the Guild of Leaves was a small guild with a total of 12 people. 1 guildmaster, 5 dungeon raiders, 3 from the management team, and 3 from the civilian support team. In other words, the civilian support team consisted of team leader Park Youngbum, team member Go Hee-won, and Yun-So. I'll head there right away. It'll take 10 minutes. Good. And make sure you come to the gathering tonight. It's an all-hands meeting, and there's an important announcement. That sounds annoying. You brat. Watch your tone. Just send the announcement via text or tell me now. I've got a rabbit-like drama waiting for me at home. You mean that bizarre drama about making kimchi stew? Yun-So's eyebrow twitched. Love in Han River isn't bizarre. It's a profound series that reminds us that we're not the only beings in this vast universe who make kimchi stew. Sure. What's bizarre is you. You've watched that drama where kimchi stew is the entire plot so many times that you've memorized all the lines and scenes. Well then, goodbye. Wait, don't hang up. I'll end the gathering early so you can hear the announcement and go back home in time to watch your drama. You'll really end it early? Of course. I'm too scared of you not to. Damn it, this guild is full of people who treat their guildmaster like some pushover. The voice trailed off. Yun-So ended the call without hesitation and added the rest of the day's schedule to a free time slot for tomorrow. Sticky Rice, take me to Daesung Securities headquarters. Yes, master. Departing for Daesung Securities headquarters in Yanaru. The car moved smoothly. The guildmaster was probably cursing up a storm right now, but he wouldn't call back. He already knew from experience that Yunso wouldn't answer. Text message from Mustache. Photo. Look at my daughter's drawing skills. LOL. Text message from Assistant Manager Kim from Management Team. Yunso, are you coming to the gathering today? Text message from Annoying Park. It's almost the anniversary and you're not coming again this year? Since his phone was already out, Yunso checked the backlog of messages. There were no urgent ones, and while the guild group chat was noisy as usual, he ignored it. However, it was harder to ignore a message from Park Hwang. Text message from me. Sorry, I'm busy with work. Me. I've got a business trip scheduled that day. Me. Sorry, I won't be able to make it. Yunso tried various ways to phrase his rejection, but eventually he gave up and closed the chat. It had been 10 years since he last went. They'd surely expect him to skip again this year. His already dampened mood, worsened by the hot weather and rooftop labor, sank further at the mention of the anniversary. It's that time of year again. He thought about it every year, how fast time flew. Yunso opened the internet. On the portal site's main page, the words 10th anniversary of the Great Dungeon Clear were displayed in large letters. The anniversary was 2 weeks away, but the world had been in a frenzy for nearly 3 months now. It was always like this around this time, but the 10th anniversary seemed to amplify the hype even more this year. When Yunso entered the news site dedicated to Awakeners, it was filled with stories about the Great Dungeon. He projected a video into the air. It was a panel discussion featuring experts on Awakeners that Yunso was already familiar with. 10 years ago, the Great Dungeon was a truly horrific nightmare. From the day the dungeon appeared to the day it was cleared, those 3 months were the period with the highest human casualties on Earth since the first day of the Great Cataclysm. Most Awakeners entered the dungeon, leaving none to handle the dungeon still appearing outside. Monsters poured out, explosions erupted here and there. I only remember spending that time inside a bunker. That's right, it was also the period with the highest suicide rates in human history. Many who predicted the Great Dungeon would fail to be cleared chose to end their own lives. Thinking back to that time is still painful and distressing. It's hard to believe it's already been 10 years, said the newswoman. I thought that was how the world would end. Those 3 months were truly horrific. 3 horrific months, they say. Listening to the discussion with dry eyes, Yunso smirked bitterly to himself. They don't know anything, what true horror really is. Not only outside the dungeon, but also inside the dungeon, there were many noble sacrifices by the Revengers. Out of 1,203 Revengers, only 4 survived. Let's not forget that Korea was the nation that bore the greatest sacrifices. That's right. Back then, as now, Korea was the strongest country on Earth and bore the duty of protecting the planet. Many hunters participated. So Chae-yoon, Lee Do-min, Kim Mi-ji, Lee Kang-jin, Bae Soo-yeon. Korea contributed over 691 Awakeners, more than half the total. However, the only Korean Awakener who survived was So Chae-yoon, the youngest Revenger and the ace of the Revengers. I remember watching the live news coverage. His face wasn't visible, but he was carried out unconscious and disappeared completely afterward. Not even the Korean government, the Hunter Association, or the World Hunter Federation knew the identity of So Chae-yoon. Is that true? Only Gaia would know the truth about So Chae-yoon's identity. So Chae-yoon was an alias, and he always wore a mask when appearing in public. The European hunter, La Pagina, who entered the Great Dungeon with him, knows his true face, but her mental state is unstable, making proper communication difficult. Additionally, she's bound by an unknown skill that compels her to keep his identity a secret. Ultimately, no one in this world truly knows who he is. Fitting for the nickname, the Little Savior, he's truly a mysterious hunter. Funny you say that. There's a rumor So Chae-yoon hated that nickname. He supposedly said he wasn't little. Really? Well, he must be a full-grown adult by now. If you're listening, we're sorry, Please come and let us apologize." The people in the video laughed warmly. Meanwhile, Yoon So's expression grew darker. Now, let's recap the known details. So Chae-yoon is male, presumed to be in his late 20s to early 30s, and one of the first awakeners, active since the early days 12 years ago. Yoon So turned off the video. Suddenly exhausted, he pressed his fingers against his forehead. Around the 10th anniversary, everyone everywhere talked about So Chae-yoon, but this year it was worse than ever. Honestly, it was absurd to hold the commemoration on July 17th. 10 years ago, July 17th was the day they entered the Great Dungeon, not the day it was cleared. That was October 2nd. Sticky rice, dim the lights. Yes, master. As the car lights dimmed, Yoon So reclined the seat and leaned back deeply with his eyes closed. He wasn't planning to sleep. He knew he'd just have nightmares. Instead, he let his thoughts wander in the silence. 3 more days until payday. Last month's phone bill was 60,000 won. Should I switch to unlimited data for an extra 10,000 won a month? They say signing up for the unlimited drama app reduces the phone bill. When I get home, I'll have kimchi stew with fried eggs, eat quickly, work out a bit, then watch some drama. Damn it. Yoon So opened his eyes. He thought of someone who used to sprinkle an obscene amount of pepper on fried eggs. A scruffy, bearded man who added pepper to every meal. Before dying, the man left a will. He wanted one last bowl of peppered soup. Those who heard it couldn't decide whether to laugh or cry. All those wills were a complete mess, and yet here I am, still alive because of those damned wills. Yoon So sighed. He rummaged through his pockets but found them empty, prompting another sigh. Finally, he summoned his inventory in his mind. A translucent window appeared in front of him. Yoon So took out a pill bottle containing antidepressants, anti-panic medication, and various other tranquilizers. He opened the cap and poured them directly into his mouth. Swallowing 3 or 4 pills at once without water, Yoon So put the bottle back into his shirt pocket instead of his inventory. I want to die. Seriously? Even after taking the pills, his head throbbed. Wherever he was, whenever it was, whatever he thought about, it all connected back to them. Even 10 years later, the past when he was So Chae-yoon still haunted him.